everybody. Welcome to Anatomical Gangster. I am your host, Sue Hitzman. If you're new to the podcast, please subscribe below. Click that subscribe button for me. Share this podcast with your friends, especially if you have somebody today who is an entrepreneur, because I had the opportunity to have an hour-long conversation with Pete Moore. He's the founder of Halo Talks, which is a leading B2B podcast in the health and fitness industry. And he's really known for his insightful conversations with industry leaders in fitness. And HALO, it stands for Health Active Lifestyle Outdoors. And Pete really is on the pulse of so much rich information that any entrepreneur should know about, and gives some insider tips and tricks to grow a better business, what it takes, whether you're looking for investors or you want to become a franchise or looking for licensing deals. Pete Moore is on the pulse of all of this. If you haven't checked out his book, Time to Win Again, this is a great book, 52 Takeaways from Team Sports to Ensure Your Business Success. It's a great book, simple to read, great animation, and all sorts of easy to read ideas. So especially for those of you guys who don't read complicated books, this would be a book on business that anybody can read. So again, if you're an entrepreneur, I hope that you enjoy this conversation. And here it is, my conversation with the amazing Pete Moore from Halo Talks. Enjoy it. So Pete Moore, thank you so much for being on Anatomical
Pleasure
Gangster.
to reciprocate and be on your show,
Thank
gangsta.
you. I like it. Well, and you are such a gangster because you really, I think, have pioneered some concepts about bringing and incorporating sports into leadership, into business success. And for people who don't know Pete, he's the founder of Halo Talks, which is a B2B podcast in the health and fitness industry. And I just know you as just being, somebody who does insightful conversations with industry leaders. So I'm curious, your mission, I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think it's really to transform what you call the Halo industry, the health, active lifestyle, and outdoor industry. And I know a little bit about your journey in founding Halo Talks through your book, which I do have.
Thank you very much.
And
Appreciate
actually,
that.
it's super insightful. And I like the subtitle of the 52 takeaways from team sports to ensure your business success. So I guess, where you're correlating team sports and business together into this book, let's just start with what inspired you to create your podcast? What was the initial vision and how has it evolved from where you started?
Yeah. So, Dave Gannell and I, who's my CMO, we back in 2016, we started to think about how can we better present opportunities that we're actually engaged in deals on. And I thought having an audio teaser, if you will. So if you were at some point going to sell the melt method, you would have a one-page teaser that talks about the company, maybe, coded and just some of the attributes and some of the interesting parts of the business. Then someone would sign a non-disclosure agreement. Then we'd send them a full book and financial model. So when I kick off a mergers and acquisitions, sell side or capital raise process, there's a set of materials. And what I found over time is that a lot of people don't even take the time to read a couple of pages of PowerPoint or even like a 2-page teaser. And I said,
Sure.
let me feed this to you audio style and see if it actually helps resonate or helps tell the story of the entrepreneur, so that entrepreneur doesn't have to tell the same story a
Mhm.
100 times. So we did a couple of podcasts where it's basically kick off, the podcast would release, and then the book on the deal would release. And we had a couple of really interesting things happen as part of that, which was Terry Blachik, who's a good friend of mine and ran the Orange Theories down in Texas. He's got some cliches such as, I asked him how quickly can you grow? He's like, I can't microwave a manager. I have to crock pot a manager. And he's got a lot of those kind of, executive zingers. And we went to one of the private equity funds that was looking at the deal, and the lead partner at the group that ultimately did the transaction and put $45 million into that Orange Theory area developer was quoting Terry within 10 minutes of the management presentation. At
Mm.
that point, I knew we had a deal and that he liked the way Terry thought about the business. So we started doing audio teasers or podcasts on every deal that we took to market. And then it kind of evolved into, hey, this is a great way for us to not to say no. If you're an investment bank, you can't take on more than 5 or 6 deals with the team that I have at a time. But what I can say is, hey, look, I can't take you to market, but what I can do is I can have you on Halo Talks. It's free of charge. We'll have a nice caricature up, like we'll have a 25 to 30-minute conversation. I'll lead you on where I know an investor is going to want to take the conversation and some of the questions they have about how you think and how you're going to grow and what the market is that you're attacking and what frustration you're solving. So 500 podcasts later, we basically are trying to use the term halo instead of the word wellness or connected fitness or weight loss programming or
Right.
anatomical gangsters. Like we're all part of this halo umbrella, and
Yes.
health, active lifestyle, outdoors kind of encompasses everything that a consumer or that evangelist in that market really thinks about. They think about their health, they think about what they're doing, they're thinking about what they're putting in their bodies, what their routines are, and everybody should get outdoors. So creating a halo effect. And we're about 550 podcasts later. So people have raised money from our podcast or made business connections that we find out about years later.
Mm.
So we're trying to solve loneliness, obesity, and diabetes. And this is one of the ways that we're kind of a nexus between capital and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I love that. And Pete, I mean, you've got a couple of things here. I mean, you said so much already. Everybody should know he is a Harvard grad for his MBA,
Thank you.
uh, wicked smart. And I think also you're somebody who really cares about health, about humans. And this is an interesting thing because, you're talking to, of course, I'm an entrepreneur and I did not go to business school, although to the pure dismay of my dad, said to me once that, I should be taking all these business classes. And I said, Dad, I'm never going to own my own company. He said, Are you kidding? You're so outspoken. Nobody's going to hire you. Of course, you're going to
Ah,
own your own company. Should
that's
have
funny.
listened because, of course, I do own a company. But, I've also been in the fitness industry now since 1988. My first job was as a fitness pro, a fitness instructor. And watching other entrepreneurs in this industry, I think you said something which is, I think, really important, that you have to kind of crockpot even the process of being a business owner. When people said to me, "Oh, you had this instant success," and I was like, "Instant? What?" It's like a 20-year story. Are you
Yeah,
kidding?
sure.
There's no
Well, the guy from
instantaneous about it.
ABC, I interviewed Paul Schaller, and he said, yeah, ABC, a 38-year overnight success. And that was
Exactly.
hand-to-hand combat at Thomas Plummer shows.
Yeah. So, I'm sure that, some of our listeners are probably also entrepreneurs, many people in the fitness and wellness industry. What advice do you have for somebody looking to break into this, what you call the halo sector? And what is it that maybe is a pitfall that a lot of entrepreneurs run into and are never successful in their business?
We can take up the whole podcast on that
I
topic.
know.
A guy I used to work for is a good friend of mine, Peter Brockway. He said one time to me that I'll never forget. He says, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. So think about everything that you've tried and think about what that has taught you in order to basically stay out of the gutter, like a 6-year-old, bowling party where they got the gutter rails. Um, and I think part of staying out of the gutter and not, pursuing something that really doesn't have the legs to succeed ever is you
Yeah.
have to come up with a company. And if the company doesn't do this, you have to pivot to a company that does. But every business is in business to solve a frustration for someone else. And you get paid for solving that frustration. Okay.
Mhm.
You want bottled water? Okay, great. That's going to be $3, right? So you're solving my thirst and my health and my paranoia that whatever comes out of this faucet, may not be, chemically induced or what have you, right? If I'm Soul Cycle and I'm charging $35, well, you're replacing my nightclub tab, you're replacing my synagogue, and you're also replacing my health club experience all in one with a rock star instructor, which is basically like a 40-person concert to me, for
Yeah.
$35. So you've solved the frustration for me. Now, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm creating the Soul Cycle and aerial yoga combination because you think that's cool. Well, prove to me that it solves someone's frustration besides, you thinking that you're going to be the next Soul Cycle, on wings. Uh,
Right. It's just catchy.
yeah, just catchy. Like come up with a frustration. Think about the woman from Solid Core. She came up with that reformer and that process and that cadence, in her apartment. And then that turned into Solid Core, which is a great business model. So I think one is, do I solve a frustration that somebody wants to pay for? Or am I in business just because I like saying that I'm in business and I like work in the health and fitness or the Halo sector? Okay.
Right.
That's exhibit A. Exhibit B, and I'm in New York City. I'm part of the
I was
FDNY,
going to
so I don't
say,
mind hearing
I
sirens.
miss the siren sound. I never hear that down in
Yeah,
Florida
we
now.
just got $500,000 worth of fitness equipment donated to the FDNY, by the way. It's really psyched
Nice.
about that. It's awesome.
That's
Thank you, Jersey
amazing.
Strong. Um, the second thing is people think that their business and their unit economics are strong until they talk to someone like me and realize that that's not the way to run a unit economic four-wall business. Okay. So there are bar businesses out there and hit businesses and F45s out there that should have never been franchised. Okay. Because there was no special sauce to the business model. F45 in particular, because you could get this information out of their public franchise disclosure documents called Item 19. And they do $1,000 a day in revenue, where Soul Cycle does about $10,000 a day. In some places, maybe even 20,000.
Mm.
Okay. In a double studio. So if you're going to actually solve a frustration for someone and you're going to go and buy a franchise, you're basically buying somebody's playbook, if you will, given my book, right? You're buying an operating playbook that is supposed to be tested, proven, has a special sauce, and you're paying a royalty solely because someone sold you a profitable business model with a brand that you could basically drop into your neighborhood and it will make you money. That was the point of franchising. Point of franchising was being able to deliver people the use of my business model, right? For a royalty.
Right.
And there's a number of groups out there in the Halo sector that have kind of gone and looked at franchising as a sales process and not something that you award. And also, it needs to be something that you could say is profitable, and I will give this to you, and not smoke and mirrors. So I think one is you got to solve a frustration. Two, you better have good unit economics. And if you don't have good unit economics, figure out how to change it. And the only way to change it is programs, hours, and
Right.
price.
Well,
Stop
okay.
there.
So when you're saying maybe there are people that don't understand unit economics, because even for me, like the whole concept of EBITDA has been, the big thing for me to learn in the past 5 years is how to really grow a business where you're not a break even, you're profitable, you're able to save money. God forbid that people know about 401k and defined benefits plans and things like that. But as a business owner, I think that these were things I was lucky enough to be guided by good business humans when I was early on. My friend Darren was very influential in helping me to devise the savings of it. But can you talk a little bit about like what are the unit economics? Like, what are franchising concepts that really nail the model, but they're not franchises? I think, and I can only just speak for myself because I think Melt, for what we do in my real job, we kind of ride the rail of franchise without being a franchise program. We're not a franchise. And I think that franchise is very sticky legally. It's a tough thing to go into. You definitely need investors, in my opinion, to be able to go about that. So talk a little bit about like all these things, unit economics, EBITDA, how do you ride the rail of franchise and not be a franchise and get yourself out there before you become a franchise?
Right. So let's visualize that we've got a strip center, okay, and it has a Dunkin' Donuts on the corner, it has a solid core, and it has an F45. Okay, those three concepts. Okay, so the F45 is probably how many classes a day you think an F45 might do?
I don't know, 10?
10 max. Okay, a lot of them do like maybe 6. Okay,
Right.
and they've got a total of potentially maybe 200 members on average, maybe 300. Okay, at like 159. So they're doing $31,800 in membership revenue for the month. Okay. They're doing $1,000 a day. Okay. And they have between 200 to 300 members. Right. But they're only open probably 6 out of 24 hours. Okay. Dunkin' Donuts is paying the same amount of rent or maybe even less rent. Right. Cause they're like they bring people to the anchor.
Right.
And they're open 24 hours a day and they're doing probably $3,000 to $5,000 a day. Okay, you're doing $1,000 a day, and then take a solid core in New York City that has probably 14. Have you been to solid core?
I have not,
So
and
it's
I
just
don't know what
like a Club
F5 is
Pilates
either.
or Legree. Okay, so they've
Gotcha.
got 14 machines multiplied by they're doing probably like 12 classes a day, multiplied by let's say $30. Okay, so they're doing $5,000 a day in revenue. Okay, so I got F45 making 1,000. I got Solid Core making 5,000. I got Dunkin' probably making somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 a day on average, depending where it is. Okay. So if I look at the F45 and I say, what's wrong with this model? One is that I've got a membership model, okay, where people could do unlimiteds, and I don't really spend enough money on marketing, and I'm only open 5 hours a day, right? So I've got 5 hours of earning hours, whereas the Solid Core is doing 12 to 14, and the Dunkin's doing 24. Okay, so I can't pay back my loan. I can't pay myself. I'm basically paying the rent. And in any case where I pay more rent to the landlord than I am in EBITDA that I'm making for myself, I am working for the landlord, okay, to pay the rent. You have to think about it that way. So a lot of companies say, well, I'm only open 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours at night, and it's better for me to close the rest of the day. What would be better for you to do is to go and figure out where the assisted living facilities are, where the nursing homes are, where the 55 and overs are, where the kindergarten kids get out of school, where the soccer moms have maybe an hour, and figure out how to use the four walls of that studio for other parts of the population. Because if you can't operate for 12 hours a day, you have no reason to actually operate a lease full time. You should try and cohabitate or be inside of someone else's location.
Absolutely.
So unit
Absolutely.
economics are strictly the revenue minus the costs and the rent and the utilities and the property and the insurance and basically whoever works inside of there.
Your
Now,
earnings and expenses.
yeah, the one other thing I want to reference is the Solid Core, which I love their business model. There's one person that works in the Solid Core at a time. It's the instructor who also checks people in on an iPad, who also makes sure that people wipe down the equipment. And then they lock the door during the class, which I wish every studio would do around the country before something bad happens. Okay. Because there are crazy people running around here. There's an election that just happened. Okay. Everyone seems relatively calm. But I think safety is very important for everyone. My point is one labor, whereas if you go to the F45, they might have 3 or 4 instructors, right? You go to the Dunkin', they might have 6 or 7 people behind the counter. So the Solid Core would be the best out of 3 models to run if there's demand and if you get people results. So
what's another company that you see that's really come up in the franchise world and has done it successfully?
Well, I mean, Orange Theory clearly was an amazing concept and was really, humming on all cylinders right before the pandemic hit. They were doing 800 members per location.
Wow.
Which is kind of unseen and unheard of in the studio space. They also had everyone on EFT. So you had, $159. And what they also did, which was super important, which everyone should do, is they had a 90-day mandatory pre-sale. And in that pre-sale, you would have to sign up 300 members. And if you don't sign up 300 members, you cannot open the studio, as far as I can recall from how it used to be.
Interesting.
So the reason why they do that is because once you hit close to 60,000 a month in revenue, you'll be making money and you'll believe that you bought a really good franchise. So the first 100 members were 30% off the dues, second 100, 20%, third 100, 10%. And then now you had enough dollars that would come in. You'd have $45,000+ of electronic funds transfer on the day you open from those credit cards, plus minus. And then now the place is busy. Now you can sell memberships at full price, but that 90-day pre-sale and the orange bicycles that they used to take from Salvation Army and spray paint them orange, the pre-sale and the dropping down in a new market, they knew how to do that, and that was important. They were doing 100,000 a month in revenue on average, and clearing 30 to 40,000 per studio per month. That is a real franchise. Metabolic, I think, is doing really well. Club Pilates is doing very well.
Yeah, Club Pilates. They actually, one of the gals down here in New York or in Florida, I did a presentation for Melt, and she wants to bring Melt into her Club Pilates, which I find fantastic for somebody who already has a franchise, has a concept, they have their cookie cutter, but she's like, it still is incomplete. We could do more, and there's downtime here. We could incorporate more. And I think I said,
so you just basically validated exactly what everybody needs to do. So to give you a commercial, everyone should be adding Melt Method to their Club Pilates or any kind of studio where they think they have the audience that this is going to resonate with, right? And it's all revenue that flows through the 4 walls and economics of that. And then to kind of follow on to that, if I may.
Please.
Oh, thank you very much, gangster. So when you sell a business, okay, people need to get this into their minds that you typically sell a profitable business for at least 5 times cash flow of that studio or that health club if you're doing well and you find a buyer that wants to be in that location, not a member that's kind of trying to put money together to buy you out. But if a strategic comes and wants to buy a chain of health clubs, as an example, they will pay 5 times cash flow or 5 times EBITDA, right? So if this particular Club Pilates woman, owner, pioneer, visionary, we'll call her, if she adds another $10,000, okay, per studio that she has of Club Pilates, that's that's not only worth the 10,000 that goes in her pocket, but when she sells eventually, if she does, she gets another $50,000, 5 times that 10,000 of cash flow that's running through is now a $50,000 kicker, which is material to her business. Okay. So I want to think about everything that you're potentially an authority on. How do you capture that in the 4 walls of your club, your studio, or your reach, right? Not everything has to be inside.
Yeah, well, and that's a big point there, because I want to go back to something that you did say, which is COVID, right? When COVID happened, I was in New York City. I saw what happened. All of these fantastic clubs were closing down one at a time, like shooting ducks on a wall. They were just, one was closing, the next is closing. So after COVID, I think, well, when COVID happened, there were suddenly all these people scrambling to get online. And then, okay, they were working online, not really sure how long COVID was going to happen. COVID ends. We're now back on track. And so they invested all this money and time into their online platform, which now they don't have any followers. So what do you see today with 2 things? One, the emergence, the both going from a live studio, live classes, live human contact to recorded online classes. How valuable is it, or is it important for a business to, in this day and age, have both? And the second part of that, I want to talk a little bit about how AI is completely transforming everything and how you think AI fits into the fitness realm.
Okay, so first question is connected fitness important? I think it's important to members that are either remote and travel a lot, or for some reason maybe can't attend the amount of classes in person that they would like to. Okay. So I think before somebody invests in going forward in any digital, they use my friends at Promotion Vault, which like incentivizes people to fill out surveys, is ask your members, one, would you like us to give you a prescription? Okay. As a personal training evaluation to basically tell you what we think you should do 6 days a week, take a day of rest, 6 days a week, either through our connected fitness program, outdoor with one of our partners, on your own in your home gym. Tell me what you have in your home gym and when I want you inside the studio or the club. Okay. So nobody goes about this and says, hey, let me give you a workout program. Why don't I give you like a daily, why don't I give you like a calendar? Okay. So this is a problem with workout recovery, which is a whole separate issue. And we're investors in higher dose and infrared saunas and electromagnetic field mats. And I did a light mask before this, red light therapy. You might can tell.
I have
probably
my higher dose mask right over there.
So,
and my red light therapy.
Did I get you that? Did I give you that?
I got it all.
Did I give you that or no?
No, but you can give me if you have a mat, I totally want one.
This stuff works. Okay. The problem is nobody knows how to play it. Okay. No one's giving me like a candy land of like, hey, Pete, okay, you're going to do Soul Cycle on Monday. Why don't we do Normatec boots on Monday night? Hey, on Monday night after Normatec boots, why don't we put you in a salt cave for 15 minutes so you really sleep like a baby tonight? Oh, and then tomorrow morning, we're going to do a cold plunge. Okay. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do infrared sauna, and then we're going to do lymphatic training. Like no one's giving me like, give me a whole.
That's gonna cost you so much money and time. I think that's the problem in this day and age. It's costing so much time and so much money for people to do 27,000 things. They're in the blue. They're living in a blue zone. They got red light therapy. They're doing infrared saunas. They got salt caves. We're doing meditation. We're doing yoga, Pilates, cycling. Holy crap! We're like freaking not working anymore. We're just trying to stay healthy.
Here's the opportunity. Okay. Soul Cycle, as an example, and I got to talk to the CEO about this. If I keep talking about it, but I forget to tell it personally. They've got 2 industrial size washer dryers to do towels, okay, which takes about 400 square feet in every Soul Cycle studio. The fact that they don't have Normatec workout recovery boots in there is like a total waste of space, right? Like,
Okay.
let's get to somebody deliver me towels. Like, I don't need people folding towels. So the first thing is somebody needs to go and look at how you could give someone a prescription for everything related to accomplishing their goals. And part of that prescription might be don't come into the club today. You said like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you take your kid to school. Don't try and rush in here with rush hour. Take this 8 a.m. class with us live or do this workout. Okay. I
Mhm.
feel like people put stuff up there and then they get like 5% of the people to actually use it or less. It's continuing to go down. But
Yeah, do
maybe
they find it valuable? That's the
do
whole
they find it
thing.
valuable?
People don't
Or did I
recover.
make it valuable for them because I'm giving you a prescription and I'm helping you figure out your routine? So I think connected fitness has its place. Personally, it's not my thing. Like I need to work out around other people or in a group
Gotcha.
of some sorts because I
So
can't
what
last
about
more than 20 minutes.
because again, virtual reality is a real thing. It can really evoke different neurons in the mind. The way that AI is working, these wearables, I actually don't have mine on. It's charging right now, but I am, my Aura ring, I love it for sleeping. So how are these things, or are they going to start transforming the industry by creating relationships with owners, like our owners of business of these studios going to eventually try to hook up with an Aura, with how you said, like the compression boots or anything, and work with the wellness side of restorative practices to maintain their clients so that they aren't dealing with joint injury, muscle strains, et cetera, that are so common to fitness.
Well, the first thing is, I mean, all the companies you just referenced, like they should be selling out of the health club, either like in a showcase or like a little, pro shop, or and definitely online. No health clubs are really selling any, equipment or like a starter pack. Orange Theory used to do the heart rate monitor, which they still do. You got to buy a heart rate monitor, when you get onboarded there. So I think all these companies are gonna at some point figure out how to work together. I mean, right now it's just like the Wild West. I think of like everyone I talk to says, "Oh, I own the data. I own the data. I own the data." I'm like, I don't think everybody owns the data. Okay,
Mhm.
so I think I own my own data, and even if you own my data, you have to influence me to like get benefit of owning my data, right? You gotta get me
Right.
to do something. You gotta get me to buy something, right? So it's like you own the data. Great. How are you gonna convince me that what you're trying to sell me like is part of your fucking algorithm or something? Anyway, I'm going astray. My point is, my zone, or like Polar, and you think about, the heart rate monitors that are in the Orange Theories, that are in a lot of the clubs now
Mhm.
on the walls. Like at some point, people are going to put more and more stats up there, or and then what the club could do is they can start identifying. Okay, now I know who like my 50 like super users are because I get the data. Right, they're obviously training for something. Let me actually go and talk to them, right? Forget about sending me an email and a text. Fucking talk to somebody, okay, like a human, and say, "Hey, Sue, it seems you've been in here like 5 days a week, and your heart rate's up to here. You're obviously doing a lot of cardio. What are you training for? Okay, and oh, me and 40 people here, we're training for this, mini triathlon in Sacramento. Okay, great. Let's set up a program now, like by the club, to say, okay, for $4.99 for the next 90 days, this is what we're gonna do. Everyone's going to come here at the same time. I'm going to have a group exercise class. I'm going to do workout recovery. I'm going to do all your like metric. Like that's how you use the data. Use the data to create more programs and more revenue, and use the data like tighten people up to say, hey, I got the best score I've ever gotten or time at a triathlon. How'd you do that, dude? I did that at EOS. Or I did that with Melt Method and Club Pilates. They'd be like, no way, dude. That's awesome. So that's how you use the data. Use the data to create an opportunity to like strengthen a relationship or create revenue.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm sure that in your career, I mean, owning businesses is something that you've done. You've supported other people's businesses. Tell me, you've certainly hit, because we all do, the pitfalls. There's no shortcuts. Everybody who says they've got a shortcut, it never turns out to a shortcut. Everybody who says I've got the vein of gold for your business and I know how to do online marketing, blah blah blah, whatever, it just turns into a money suck if you ask me. I've never seen any benefit of it. I just spend a lot of money, but just talk to the same people. What is it that you have hit yourself? Any wins or losses that you yourself have had
Oh, I
that
got a
you've
lot of
had to
wins. I got a
fix?
lot of losses, mostly losses when it comes to early stage investing. And that's basically like the game that you're playing. However, the problem is when you enter the game, you think you're going to bat 1,000. And because when I turned 40, I decided, okay, look, I know all these people in the industry. I have access to all their information, so I know what works and what doesn't work. Okay. And I also know what I think I can take that kind of looks like it and make it work. So I kind of thought I was going to come in here literally like bat 1,000. I was going to put like 5 deals together. I was going to get some co-investors from some of my clients that we made money for when they sold their businesses. And we started putting money into companies. And I had an office on 31st Street. And it was like one of these like a high-end WeWork. And I had like the corner desk and I had a stand-up desk. And my partner, chief of staff, Rosa, was right next to me. I had a nice window. And I basically brought all the companies in that we invested in. Right. So I can like, hey, Pete Moore, I can multitask. I'll hear what they're doing. I can be accessible. Right. And then I realized that these things just suck up so much cash on a daily basis that I would not come into the office on the 1st and the 16th of the month. I'm not kidding, because that's when I needed money for payroll. Okay. And I used to transfer money from my ISQ and my personal account into X company's account. It's like, oh, we'll get it back to you in like 2 or 4 weeks. And, 4 years later, that's still like, the shareholder loan. Right. So I think if I was to advise myself, and assuming that like I took this path to become where I am at Integrity Square, the one thing I would not do is I would not invest in more than 2 companies. Okay. And probably I should have only,
You mean 2 companies at one time?
At one time. Right now, I was invested at one point in like 8 companies.
Wow.
Right. I'm like a seed investor in
go
8 companies. So if you want to like physically and mentally destroy yourself, do that. Right. Go invest in 8 companies that are all like on like the precipice of like hitting a wall or like becoming like a big company. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like Higher Dose was one of those 8 companies. And my partner, which is very, he's awesome. His name's Chris Jacob. He's now over there running it as a CFO with the co-founders of the business. And that company does infrared saunas and recovery and light masks and LED lights, electromagnetic fields. That company 5 years ago, I knew workout recovery was going to be a big deal. Like it's obvious, right? So these 2 women approached us and we said, hey, we'll lead the $1.2 million round of capital. That's the last round of equity capital they've needed. Whereas other companies have got anywhere between $250 to like $2.5 million of mostly my money in these deals that I don't know. There's no more pivots. Like 2 of them got shut down during COVID. One was called Switch Playground, which you have to switch every 2 minutes to another.
Yeah, it's great.
Circuit.
It's a
So
great
everyone
concept.
so you go to class, everyone gets COVID or nobody gets COVID, right? Depends on who had COVID. Then there was a company called Greco Fitness, which was up in Ottawa. And the franchisee base, when we got involved, didn't really want to change their activities and like become part of like a pricing and a cohesive unit. And we spent a lot of time up there. Extend Bar, we were close in a couple areas of becoming like Extend and Pilates. We came close to trying to potentially, which I thought might have worked, was having bar and cycling, but we didn't do that. Then we made some big mistakes on like loaning money to franchisees or investing in franchisees.
Wow.
That was a problem.
Yeah.
But we got out of that deal. We got out of bricks and mortar and franchising and moved to licensing. So we were able to like basically like you talked about with Melt Method.
That's what
I'm not
we
responsible.
do. Deals.
I'm not responsible for your EBITDA. I'm not responsible for your P&L.
That's right.
Like I'll give you the programming and you're an entrepreneur and go run with it. So yeah, it's been there have been goods and bads to that. But I think what you need to do is one, don't dilute yourself too much is one of the takeaways that I would say to my old self. 2, don't throw money after an experiment that didn't work. And just a quick sidebar here. When somebody says I got a seed round, I got a series A. Okay. You've heard that before. I got a series A round, right? So that's like my first round of capital. Now, the way this historically used to work, and sometimes it still does, goes back to the norm. But if my experiment on the use of money on my series A went well, then I could go and raise the series B. Okay. If series A did not go well, I'm probably not getting series B. Right.
Right.
And in early stage companies that are in like the seed round, and I say I've got that much money. I've had people call me up saying I've got $12 million, family money tied up in this business. And I'm like, bro, don't think you're getting that back, because what you're telling me, you're just not getting it back. So the seed rounds like A, B, C, D. So when an entrepreneur, you know, makes a decision, goes a certain route, and that doesn't work, if you're the investor, you got to say, okay, you got one more try. And this is what it's going to cost you in equity. And
Mhm.
this is business, not personal. I got to lower the value, and I got to increase the amount that I own, and I might want more controls. And then you do it, if someone else doesn't work, like I'm not your angel investor. Now I'm like a serious investor. So being an angel investor is a terrible term, by the way, while we're on
Yeah,
the
no, but
record.
there's no angels letting you borrow their money as far as I can tell.
Well, a lot of people
I
like
mean,
put
maybe
money into
there's
deals and
people.
then don't never get it back, or don't even check in, or don't follow up on like what the
Yeah,
crowdsourcing is like that's the biggest like scam, like no corporate governance, just throw money into deals. Like
right.
anyway.
Again, I started my company on my own dime and my own time, and I can go back to my dad who used to tell me, Sue, if you've got to borrow money, you are not doing what you should be doing. If you can't do it yourself, borrowing other people's money is only just going to put you deeper into a hole.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me. And here I am 20 years into it. I haven't, like my growth is like a snail, right? Because recovery, which is the word everybody likes to use. I like to use the word restorative, but
Yeah.
people are more willing to spend $30 to get on a bike and have somebody scream at them really loud with very loud music and go deaf. And just because have this belief, like they're part of a cult or whatever it is that those, classes are, rather than spending $20 to $30 on truly restoring your body so that you have longevity of your fitness and wellness, which a lot of people don't. Again, people get injured. So, that's my 2 cents on that whole thing, but I digress. But,
Well, no, I mean, okay. So first of all, congrats on what you built. That's awesome, right? People building
yeah,
a business, sustaining it, um, continuously reinvesting it, helping more and more people. Like there's no, you don't need a hockey stick and like, you know, it's not $1 billion business right now, right? But right now it's a business that, could be $100 million one day. So like that not many people say.
no, my company will never be $100 million
I'm saying
company,
it
but
could be part of something that turns into something,
maybe,
right? And
yeah.
my
But
point is
again,
that
you
most
just
of this
don't borrow
country,
money unless you can pay it back.
most of this country is based on like small business entrepreneurs, right? And large companies that provide all the services to us. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's nothing wrong with saying like I've been in business. 14 years. How long you been in business?
Since 2004. So a solid 20 plus years for
20
longevity
years. Okay,
fitness. Yeah.
not many people could say that. Like you ask anybody in the restaurant industry, they probably got like 7 restaurants by now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So pat yourself on the back. Um, the one thing you asked me something else though before about AI and how AI is going to
Yeah,
change everything.
AI and also virtual reality, like both of those are slowly coming into the fitness sector. What are you thinking about it?
I've had bad experiences with virtual reality goggles, so I don't know if I'm like the target market for that. I feel like everyone's like falling down. I don't know
Yeah.
how that's going to work. Look, I think it's going to be great for kids. Okay, and the kids will start using it, and then they'll grow up, and that'll be a thing for them. But you're not going to tell me or my parents like, "Hey, put these goggles on and start, jumping around the house," or
No.
like that's going to be cause more melt method situations
I know,
than
I'll never be
anything
not
else.
employed because of virtual
Yeah,
reality.
so I'm not a big fan of virtual reality. I'm obviously a fan of like Dance Revolution and like anything to
Sure.
get kids moving and stuff like that. Maybe like Candy Crush, like full body Candy Crush. That's what they should do. That's my idea, by the way. Don't
That's a
steal
good
that.
idea. Don't steal
Right?
it, anybody.
A lot
So
of
Pete,
honey
so
melon,
so so
honeydew.
you talked a bit on, you've talked about community impact, right? Because if you really, I think that's a big thing that I see is all of these younger people who come to me asking me, like how to run this $1 million business. They're just like, they're thinking so far online, like they want to reach the world. And I'm like, what about your local community? Because even when I started with Melt, I started it again in New York City in a private practice. I saw my clients get better. I thought, I'm in fitness. Maybe I could do this in a group environment and keep people out of my office. And then that just emerged, right? But I built up a huge following in New York City. So by the time I wrote the book by 2013, it became a New York Times bestseller almost like virtually overnight. And on goes the story. But there is this community impact that to me in your local community that I think people aren't willing to invest enough of the outreach in the local community, the marketing in the local community to get out there. So how do you feel two things? How do you feel wellness professionals can make a meaningful impact on their communities, especially with where we are today in this climate, and networking also, it's super critical. So what kind of strategies would you recommend that a young business owner does for community impact and for networking?
Because let's say somebody let's work on the assumption that this person already has some business in that area. So they might have like a small group training studio, or they might
Sure.
have like they do things outdoors in the park, right? Okay. Whatever software that you're running to manage your business, okay, it has to turn into like the CIA of your members. Okay. So I went to the show a couple years ago and someone's like, "What do you think of AI?" And I'm like, you can't. I said this kind of like gangster style. You ready? Because we're on anatomical gangster still.
Exactly. Break it down.
Yo, so I said it like this, gangster. I said, you can't have artificial intelligence until you have intelligence.
Yes.
Okay. So by meaning that if this instructor or this entrepreneur has a group of 100 people, like you have to know everything about those 100 people and then figure out like what the buttons are and what like the connectivity or the connective tissue are, and then decide if you want to cater to those people. Okay.
Right.
If you got a lot of like lazy people that, say, "Oh, I want to work out twice a week and, I just want to make sure I can wear my elastic jeans or whatever, like that's not who you want to target. Like go find people again that you're solving a frustration for. And then when you realize that, hey, 100 people just came into my club Pilates, why is that? Oh, they're concerned about, they know that working on their core and like being strong from a musculoskeletal standpoint is going to prevent me from injury, probably prevent me from disease, probably allow me more longevity. I can play more sports and pickleball, golf, and I can lift my kids up or the garbage without like straining my back, right? Okay, so
Mhm.
now let's find out everything we can about these people, right? What sports teams do they like? What's their favorite color? How many kids do they have? Is their husband overweight, or is that guy, like work out at the Orange Theory? Let's do like a partners class or couples class. Maybe we could do kids Pilates. We could use like a little chair, right? Find out who's got kids, find out what their names are, find out what worries them, find out like what they're excited about. So if you don't, a quick story, if we got a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I did this with a Gold's Gym operators, and I said, "You guys have my credit card, my birthday, and how many times I checked in my home address. That's basically all you know about me, right?" When I was 12 years old, my dad used to let me into this little change bin with all the quarters, and I used to take all the quarters. He was cool with it. And when the ice cream man came around, which was every day, okay, I would go and buy Fun Dip, Twizzlers, like those little Dippin' Dots type of things, and I'd hide them under my radiator, and I would eat it like when I went to bed. So I'd wake up with like Big League Chew all over my pajamas. I like Fun Dip, like felt like I had sand in my bed, and I got really chubby as a kid. Okay,
Sure.
thankfully I'm not right now. Thanks for saying that. Appreciate it. Anyway.
No, you've totally leaned down since I've known you too.
Oh,
by the way.
thanks. I appreciate you. Since I was 12,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So I got chubby as a kid. I used to go shop at the Sears department in Sears, at the Husky department. Okay. They don't have it anymore because of mental health issues, right? They don't want to call it
They don't
Husky.
have Sears anymore, by the way. We're
Exactly.
talking, we're dating ourselves right
Now,
now.
here's the deal. If you're my personal trainer, okay, and this story that I'm telling you right now is not in the database that everyone could listen to it, maybe even, right? Put an audio file in there, or at least write down to like, funny story, when Pete was 12, he had to go to Sears Husky department with his mom to buy elastic corduroy jeans because he kept gaining weight so much. Okay.
Mhm.
Bam. Now all you have to do is when you see me, be like, "Bro, we're not going back to Sears, are we? I thought they closed that place. Let's
You
get you
can't
on the
wear
90-day
elastic
plan."
pants anymore, Pete. There's no elastic bands in your
No, I
feet.
wear the EVR sweatpants though. Shout out to Al and Tara. My point is that you need to know me, right? And like, if you don't know that story, you don't know me.
I think that's tough. I mean, that's where I think with AI, the algorithms that you can find out with your marketing, that's been kind of an eye-opening idea for me with my business. Also, your target marketing people who are also looking for restorative,
Yeah, no, I
recovery.
think that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the magic of
I don't know if
AI.
that's AI though. Like that's
It
just
is.
like
Yeah, it's generated information through artificial
generative. Yeah.
intelligence. Yeah, artificial intelligence through
Yeah.
marketing. data. That's what
My
it
point is, you got 300 members at your club Pilates. Okay. I went to summer camp when I was like 10 until I was 21. Within 4 days, 500 kids' names. How's that possible? Every kid in the camp, I know their name. Did you go to summer camp?
I did not. We didn't have any money when I was a kid. My parents wouldn't let me go because it
Don't
was
worry
too
about
much
it.
money.
Don't worry about it. Don't
Sorry.
worry about it. Okay. Well, I'm glad. But will you go to summer camp now?
I could go to summer camp now.
That'd be
I go to
great.
fascia camp and
The
things like
point
that.
is that, like, if you don't know people's names, if you don't like know anything about them, they're not really a member. Like, this industry is based on like return. Like, here's your, like, it's not return on assets. It's not return on equity. It's return on relationships.
That's
right?
right. It's critical. I think you're saying a
Yeah.
lot of big things here.
And can I
Go
just say
ahead.
one other thing about attrition?
Yeah. Yes, nutrition. Tell me.
Attrition.
Oh, attrition.
Went to this club chain the other day. They had 3,100 members that canceled last month. I was with their 25 general managers. And I said, who's responsible for this? Which one of you are responsible for 3,100 people canceling their memberships? You know how many people raised their hand?
None.
None. Because everyone's playing like zone defense. Okay. Why can't I get 100 people and I'm responsible for those 100 people? Every employee's got 100 people. I don't care if you work in the personal trainer, you're the juice bar, front desk, swim instructor. You got 100 people. Here's 100 needs. You got to make sure they stay. Talk to them.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right. Talk to them. I mean, and also that responsibility and accountability, right? The RACI method, right? Responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, right? Somebody's got to be responsible in that company. And I think a lot of times that's the tough thing is it's not my circus, not my monkeys sometimes. And you're like, it's got to be somebody, somebody should have stopped this before they did it. And yeah, I mean, it's tough sometimes being a business owner because you can lose a lot of money because of somebody else's choice in your company without being informed or consulted on.
But this is hard work. Okay. So
yeah,
my
being a
point
business
about
owner
like,
is hard work.
I'm gonna keep harping on this industry that says if you don't have the intelligence, don't expect someone to make artificial intelligence out of
Yeah.
it. I need to know stories. I need to put things in, or I need instead of folding a towel when somebody goes into a class, let me go on Pete's Instagram, let me go on his Facebook, let me go on his Halo Talks, let me go on his LinkedIn, and let me go find shit that's going on in his life and put into the database. Right, that would be a great use of time.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea, just even to take that much time with clients in fitness to know more about them. Because I think if you acquired that much data of everybody, you would really understand how we all connect, how we're all similar. And in that similarity, go find that similarity because those are the people that you're going to retain the most, right? It makes sense.
Like, what
Makes
college
sense.
did you go to?
Me, I went to SUNY Albany for my undergrad and NYU for my grad.
Okay, so at Albany, it's probably like 500 student-led activity organizations, right?
Sure.
Student-led, archery, pickleball, paintball,
Cycling. I was on the cycling. We started
right?
that. Yeah.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't we make people in the club like, hey, we don't have pickleball here. Yeah, but we got these two people like Joe and Jack. They're like the pickleball. They run the pickleball activities for our gym. They're members, right? And what do? We do 4 nights a week. We do a pickleball recovery, 30 minutes. You come here like 8 to 9 o'clock or 8 to 8:30, 8:39. Right. So why don't we have like student-led organizations? Like, hey, we don't have pickleball. Hey, we don't have this. We don't have a cycling, outdoor cycling, whatever. Well, we got indoor and outdoor now. My point is like you need to use the membership as like, think about it as like a co-op. Like we're basically running a co-op for members.
Yeah. I get it.
And then the last point I wanted to make on that, I almost forgot. But someone's paying you $30 a month. Okay. They're not paying you $30 a month. Okay. They're paying you $360. Okay. Plus they're paying you like another $50 in like annual maintenance fees. Right. So they're paying you over $400. Learn something about them. They're not paying, it's not $30. It's $400 times 2 and times 5, by the way, because I told you when you exit, right? That's now worth, what is it? I mean, it's worth another $2,500.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah,
There's the math.
you got to know your client and know the value of your client because the more you can help them and keep them, the more lucrative you become because you're helping the very people that you want to help. I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Results sells. What isn't that?
Results
What
do
do you
sell.
know?
That's
What do
why
you
we have
know?
great retention is because the shit works. That's
ironic.
it. I mean, we actually have a t-shirt that says the works because that sound
Really?
and
I didn't even know that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a couple of things for you. Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about this playbook that you wrote a couple of years ago with David Gandolin, whom we love. And what was the inspiration? Did it reach your expectations? Tell me a little bit.
Yeah. So probably for years I've always I always write down all my little takeaways and sayings or like cool quotes that people have. So I don't know if I was like saving it up to as like a scrapbook, maybe like write a book one day of like here's everything I've learned as a business person or in life. And and then when the pandemic hit, I'm an investment banker to the health and fitness industry. Okay. That is not a dream job during COVID because all my clients closed, right?
Yeah.
The investors that put money into the companies have on their website says we're flexible capital. Okay. Everyone's flexible until they don't get paid interest for 90 days. Then they're not flexible anymore. Right. My members are all on freeze and my landlord wants a check. Okay. So I'm basically like a certified entrepreneurial therapist for paid and unpaid transactions, just trying to like keep this industry from like, falling down like Humpty Dumpty. And we were successful in many ways of keeping businesses alive, which is probably should write a book on that. So we're working on 4 different bankruptcy deals. And if you work on a bankruptcy deal, it's basically like you're waking up and like fighting against like a mini Mike Tyson every day because you're like, you got landlords, you got unsecured creditors, you got your client. It's very complicated. So I was working on 4 of those at a time and I was getting super depressed. And then I watched The Last Dance by Michael Jordan, the documentary talking about like how to build a team, how to build a dynasty. And we had about 200 podcasts done. So we had all the caricatures. And I'm not a novel guy. I can't really write a book. So I usually do things in pictures and I do things in bullet points. So started coming up with all these things about what was going on in The Last Dance and how to run a great business, and came up with 52 of them, mocked it up. And then Dave and I went to town on kind of like thinking about the story behind each one, and had our caricature Mark for weeks out in Manhattan Beach at like a 2-star hotel called the Seaview Inn, doing caricature pictures and then loading up the industry with faces and then family members to put it together. So it's kind of a playbook on if you're an entrepreneur and you're just coming out of COVID, like, hey, it's time to win again. Like you didn't cause that loss. That was like a force majeure, they would call it, or like an act of God, right? So we gotta win again. And maybe we should run this thing like a team and not like, a traditional business. That was the precipice.
I love that.
All I have this moment by myself. The word gangster has its roots in the late 19th century. It's derived from the word gang, which itself comes from the Middle English word gange, meaning to go or to walk. Term could trace back to Old Norse ganger, a going or a path.
What was that?
You'll hear it later.
Okay, so it's
The term gang was originally referred to a group of people who went around together, particularly in a context that could involve criminal activities.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's the whole thing. Like a gangster is just somebody who's off the beaten path trying to make change for whatever reason, right? So it's not such a bad thing sometimes being a little gangster on things. So I think that with this book, I mean, I love the takeaways, and I like this idea that even with sports, right, that athlete is really in the Latin root word is winner, to win, right? So the whole point is to I love this whole idea of bringing the business success with that team sports and, playing like a team player. And that's really it. You can't be an entrepreneur and really live in a silo. It takes a team. And anybody who is an entrepreneur and is hearing this and hearing what we're talking about, I can speak from personal experience. You need smart, kind, compassionate and caring people around you that know their side of the business. And you want to pick wisely people that are going to do your marketing, doing your accounting, doing your bookkeeping, everything. I mean, you really want to have wherever is not your skill set, you want to find the people that have that skill so that you can do the best that you can. I think that's always a big takeaway for me for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and also if the analogy of like if you're the goalkeeper of a soccer team, like you're the CEO, the striker is not, go pay for talent and get some goal scorers and make sure that like you're protecting the whole company. You're protecting the net,
That's right. That's right. So you also one thing here, you talked about your relationship with the FDNY, with our New York Fire Department. How, and you were talking about this earlier on, and I do want you to mention this because this is really awesome what you're doing. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with the FDNY?
Yeah, total, random event. My friend Brett Keith from business school back in 2017 um, texted me on a Friday in November, probably right around now. It says, "Hey, bring a set of knee pads. I need you to come to the Randall's Island, train like a firefighter for the day. I've got an open spot for my YPO group." So I show up there. We do all these different revolutions. You got the equipment on, basically treat it like a pledge, or a probate. You go into like a terrorist simulation in the subway. You try and get bodies out. They say, "Hey, there's two kids up on the smoky second floor." You go up there. You come down with no kids. You realize that, hey, we didn't know how to communicate. We should have brought the hose up there so we get ourselves back down, right? Because it's smoky. We didn't have a plan of who was doing what, this and that. And at the end, this guy who was the head of the train, this guy John Regan, Chief Regan, came up to me and says, "Hey man, I heard you work in the fitness industry. We don't have a budget for fitness equipment." I'm like, "How do you not have a budget? Like, you save strangers like and walk upstairs all day? Like, are you kidding me?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, we don't." I'm like, "Yeah, I can help you. I got a lot of gyms that we have relationships with." So I'm like, "Send me an email." So I was thinking he's gonna send me like 14 Stairmasters or something that they needed. They sent me like a list in Excel with all these tabs that has 614 pieces of equipment sorted by fire station, or training area, by priority, by make, by model, everything. So we started up the Halo FDNY Fitness Equipment Fund.
Wow.
And 2 years of doing it, we ended up raising about $2 million of equipment from
Wow.
health club operators, Crunch, New York sports clubs, Chelsea Piers, and the FDNY would come pick everything up. So every fire station now has a mini gym. It's a TRX in them
So
because of this
fantastic.
effort. It was
That's
great.
amazing.
So they made me an honorary firefighter right there.
Right
Battalion
on.
chief. 10 years.
Nice. Ever you get pulled over, you got yourself an out.
Yeah,
That's
the thing is, I only take Uber, so I actually had to use it. I used it twice, actually. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
That's
I used it
badass.
once where it was a traffic accident, and I kind of took charge of the scene. It's right outside my apartment, but I did help two women get out of a taxi. They were a little cut up. Second was there was a woman, like a crazy lady in the deli, so I kind of walked her out with. I just carried the badge like this in my palm. Like, hey, we just gotta let me just. It's just that. I didn't really use it. I just
You could probably get into a New York City nightclub really easy with that.
flashed it. Maybe.
All right, so Pete, one last question for you, because this is the question I ask everybody who comes on Anatomical Gangster. If you could, and you've already told people so many great things. And again, guys, this book actually has a lot of great information, really great
Thank
tips
you.
and takeaways. So I think anybody who's going to run a company, this is just an easy read and really chock full of information. But if you could tell people something that that most people don't know anything about, but could very well change the course of their life, what is it?
Oh, that's a big question.
I know it. I love it. Don't you love it?
Yeah. I'll say this to entrepreneurs, okay? Because they need to know that the stress that you put on yourself daily will build up and build up, and it's not worth it. Use it as a stoic pivot, learn something from it, and just figure out how to power through it, okay? My nephew and I always do something. We do 1, 2, 3 hard work. And being an entrepreneur is hard work, and the stress and the loneliness and like the conviction you have to stay the course. Don't let the lows get you lower than they need to, because it's just a loss in baseball. Like, we're playing again tomorrow.
Well
So
said.
I would just say, don't let it affect you. And I've had it affect me way too much. And if I win, I might win 3 times in a day, and I might lose one, and I focus on the one loss. And life's not going to be winnings all the time, right? So no one goes 162 and 0 in baseball. So get used to losing, and then get a good night's sleep, and then go crush it the next day. So that would be my advice. Don't let little things keep you down, because there's a new day ahead.
That's right. It's such a great way to say everything about life, right? Everything's impermanent, even the way that you feel, even when you're down, you can always get back up again, right?
Yeah.
So simple.
We're on a planet. It's going 66,000 miles an hour around a fireball that's 95.3 million miles away. And that's a fact. So you might as well enjoy the ride.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, everybody who's listening here, I hope you enjoyed this whole thing. Checking out Pete Moore.
Go Halo.
Yes, go
Gangsta.
go go go
Halo.
go check out Halo Talks. Really great entrepreneurs that Pete has interviewed. A lot of rich information in every podcast. And again, for everybody who's listening to Anatomical Gangster, make sure that you follow us, subscribe to our channel, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast with another awesome AG
Anatomical
master.
Gangsta. Wow.
See you soon.
Later. Out.